In the aftermath of the horrific shooting at Annunciation School, Governor Tim Walz has announced he will call a special session of the Minnesota legislature to address gun issues and gun safety. He will meet on Tuesday with leaders to discuss the specifics. The governor's agenda includes a proposed ban on assault weapons, a ban on high-capacity magazine clips, a safe storage law, liability insurance, and a tougher red flag law. A 2022 MinPost poll found that 54% of Minnesotans surveyed support a ban on assault weapons, but there is a big divide. 69% of urban residents support that ban. 51% of rural residents oppose it. Republicans don't support the governor's proposals. They have their own ideas. And joining us to talk about that is the number 2 Republican in the Minnesota House, Representative Harry Niska from Ramsey. Thank you so much for coming in. We really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right. The governor says he can't do it without Republican votes. Does he have any Republican votes for his proposals?
Well, the Republicans that I've been talking to, that I've heard from, are focused on things that are politically feasible and things that are going to work. And what we've seen in terms of a ban on so-called assault weapons is it was tried on a federal level. It didn't work. It didn't move the needle in terms of reducing gun violence at all.
Well, some people would disagree with that analysis. It certainly did back in 2004. Certainly, assaults and mass shootings have gone up since it was recalled. But I do want to ask you this. In terms of your proposals, you've got some very specific proposals. It sounds like you're a no on the assault weapons ban. One of the things you want to do in the aftermath of this shooting is to allow doctors to have more authority in perhaps denying transgender affirming care. Why are you doing that?
Well, I think it's important that we look at a couple of things. Number one, learn everything we can about the root causes of this particular act of violence. What is it that caused someone to be so sick to think it was a good idea to go into a Catholic Mass on a Wednesday morning and shoot up kids? So what is it that led that person down that road? Is there anything we can learn from that from a policy perspective? We, as the state of Minnesota, when it comes to care as it relates to gender issues, are way out of step with the rest of the world, including a lot of progressive countries in Europe that have looked at the type of care that's being prioritized in Minnesota and said that doesn't work, that's not solving any of the problems that it is purported to solve, and pumping kids up with hormones might not be the best idea. So we do need to look very seriously at that, but we also need to look at making our schools safer, making sure that schools have the security
let me ask you,
they need, and punishing criminals.
One of the things you're talking about is public funding for private school security. In other words, taxpayers would fund security for Annunciation School, for small private schools all over the state. Is that fair when public schools are hurting at this time?
Sure. So we provide services like busing, we provide services like police and fire to all schools of all types. And I think it's important, and our private schools have asked for support for safety for every kid in Minnesota. Every kid should be safe regardless of where their parents choose to send them to school.
But do you feel the votes are there for that?
Well, the private schools had asked for it in 2023. They didn't hear anything back from the governor. So it's the question is, I think whether Democrats are willing to support that policy. I think Republicans would be willing to support helping every student be safe in school, no matter what school they go to.
More money for mental health beds. Obviously, the government is a little strapped right now. Yeah. Is there money available for that kind of thing?
Well, I think everyone agrees that we don't have enough mental health support in Minnesota, and hopefully we can all work together to find a solution on that. As you said, resources are tight, money is tight in the state budget, but this really put a point on, I think, a problem even before this all of us acknowledged, which is we don't have the mental health resources we need in Minnesota.
The governor wants to toughen the red flag law and somehow encourage more people to come forward with that. Is that something that you would support?
Well, I think we do need to ask serious questions about what happened. We passed a red flag law. It was passed in 2023, and it was supposed to deal with situations like this. So I hope everyone is asking serious questions about what did this incident not trigger either a background check flag or a red flag, and somebody had to have known at some point along the lines that this is a person who had some pretty bad ideas, had some pretty bad plans, and how do we get people to take that more seriously and make sure that that gets prevented in the future? That shouldn't be a controversial thing, that we should look into that, figure out what is it that that we could do better in terms of trying to prevent incidents like this from happening in the future.
You're also talking about tougher penalties for repeat gun offenders, and this is a big problem.
Absolutely, it's a big problem. We've seen another incidents this week. There was a carjacking this week, a fatal carjacking. That was, again, an instance of, we have a catch and release problem in Minnesota.
Criminal record.
Absolutely.
Yep. All right. Well, Leader Niska, thank you so much. We'll obviously be following the news and see if there is, in fact, a special session to deal with gun violence coming up at the legislature. We appreciate you coming in. Appreciate Nathaniel coming in. Appreciate everybody for coming in.
All right. Thank you.